Now, just let's look for a few moments, especially at the Gospel this evening. And there's a number of things there we can just briefly comment and hopefully will make sense to you. Peter approached Jesus and asked him. Peter was sort of a self-appointed spokesperson, not only for the apostles, but for the disciples, and looks sometimes like for everybody else. And he said to Jesus, "How often should I forgive my brother or somebody who offends me? Should I forgive him 7 times? Probably this was said by Peter to make him look good. Forgive somebody 7 times, because 7 was a number that denoted perfection. And Jesus turned around and said, "Look," he said, "not 7 times, but 77 times. In other words, that there ought to be no end to your forgiveness." Now, in the next couple of lines, something very interesting comes up. When Jesus tells a parable, and something in the parable that you may not have noticed before, and I never did until I was reading it this morning at Mass, is the man who owed his master or the king a very large amount of money. We're told a huge amount, and he had no way of paying it back. What exactly in the Gospel this evening does a huge amount mean? And if you do some research on this, you'll find that it comes to something like he must have owed him more than 10,000 denarii, or in other words, changing that amount into days' labor, it would be 100,000 days' labor wages, 100,000 days of wages. Now, there was no way he could ever pay that money back. And then we're told that when he asked the Lord for mercy and forgiveness, the Lord forgave him totally. In other words, the mercy of God there. Now, we'll pause for a moment, and there's a question for you which I want you to think about. What did that man who had been forgiven really, really lack? Really, really lack. Think about that for a moment. Why couldn't he forgive the person that owed him much less? You might come up with the answer, most people would, said, well, he lacked mercy. Well, that begs the question, why did he lack mercy? Because there's always, you got to dig deep, you got to go down further. Why did he lack mercy? In other words, what is the basis of mercy? What is mercy based on? And mercy is based on gratitude. Why do I say that? Well, look, this is the way it works out. That man was not really aware of the mercy he had received. Now, I can't say about you, but if you're normal, this will be true of you too. I am continually in the need of God's mercy, continually. And that's why at the beginning of every Mass, what's the first thing we do after we make the sign of the cross? Is we beg the Lord's mercy. Now, for most of us, we probably are not aware of that. We do it in a mechanical fashion, or we're just like robots and we do it without thinking. And that's a pity, because it's a very important part of Mass. Like this evening, I said 3 times, Lord, have mercy. Christ, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. So we need to continually ask the Lord for mercy. And when I think of all the mercy the Lord has shown to me, how could I refuse to pass that mercy on to anyone else? Unless I was just totally ungrateful. And that's why it is true to say the bottom line underneath holding mercy up is gratitude. There's something else. How do you feel when you make a mistake, when you get something wrong, especially when you do it in public? Or how do you feel about owning up to the fact that it was your fault, that you were wrong? So what is the bottom line there? What is underneath that? What is the bottom line there? Why are you so embarrassed? Why do you beat yourself up over making a mistake, getting something wrong, about some sin you committed, something you did long ago, and you still feel guilty every day, and you can't really you can't accept forgiveness. You can't forgive yourself. Why is that? What is the reason for that? What is underneath that? Why is that? What is underneath it? And I suggest underneath that is pride. Pride. And when I point that out to people very often, especially in confession, they will come back, oh, yeah, but I never thought of that. I never thought of that. People on a regular basis come to confession and they walk out still feeling guilty, even though the Lord has totally forgiven them. They can't accept that forgiveness and forgive themselves. That's an important part of reconciliation, to be able to forgive yourself. Because if I'm not able to forgive myself, I'm not going to be able to forgive you. That is the way it is. That is a fact of life. And so why are we very often so hard on ourselves? And again, I think absolutely, almost certainly, because of pride. Because of pride. And then finally, there's the question of bearing bitterness and resentment and anger and carrying hurts of the past. What a waste of time. We're like the man in the gospel this evening. We end up in prison, being tortured, a prison of our own making. We imprison ourselves. Or go back to the first reading in the very book of Sirach. The very first line in the reading this evening was, wrath and anger, the sinner hugs to himself. Hugs. What a way of describing it. And so many people walk around hugging bitterness and resentment. what have they done to themselves? And what are they doing to themselves? You'll never have peace. You'll never have any kind of happiness. You'll never have any kind of real joy in your life as long as you keep on doing that. But, if you look at the Gospels and read the Gospels carefully, you'll see a major part of the Gospels was all about forgiveness. It is such a vital part of our life, simply because you and I continually need mercy and forgiveness.